welcome to Overthunk. My name is Keegan.
I'm Ezra.
Today we're reviewing Solo, a Star Wars story.
That we are.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Interesting.
interesting.
Very interesting.
I mean, usually contentious reviews, Star Wars reviews.
Oh yeah, just by nature.
But it feels like a little bit less now.
Yeah.
Are people caring less about Star Wars?
You know, I've never really bought into that whole Star Wars fatigue because Marvel's been going on for a lot longer. And more or less keeping with the same sort of tone and style throughout.
True, but are the stories they're telling fresher?
I don't know.
Was it too soon for another Star Wars story?
Perhaps.
Because it's the tagline of the film.
Yeah.
Star
We got it.
I'm sorry. Just making sure. I wanted to land the punchline twice. The old one too.
But yeah, it's come at an interesting time in the Star Wars, universe.
Yeah.
Just because of how things are being perceived in general after The Last Jedi. But yeah, in light of that, how did you find it?
I found it boring, I think, which is strange for a Star Wars film. But there's still a half-decent movie in there. I don't think we're going to, in the foreseeable future, go and watch a Star Wars film and there not be a half-decent film in there. They've been doing these for too long to ever present us with something that's not, serviceable.
Prequels aside.
Yeah. Well, I mean now, we're not going to get a prequel quality now.
Yeah,
God forbid. Just J.J. Abrams just goes and has a mental break, and then Episode 9 is just
I didn't think
the return of Jar Jar Binks.
I didn't think that's possible with the cast, just in general. But yeah, no. I think
if you had to sum up the movie in a word,
it existed. I think it happened.
That seems boring, man.
Yeah.
Imagine if you came back from a party. We're in a shared living situation, in this metaphor, and you arrive, and I'm like, "Hey, man, how was the party?" And you're like, "Oh, it was really great. I met this girl. She existed." It would be the worst way. And then you're like, "Yeah, so she's coming over
so
next
much
week."
worse in that context.
And I'd be like, "Oh, great! I never want to meet this girl ever. That sounds hot. She existed."
No, okay, I sold it a bit short there. I expected it to dislike it.
Okay.
Based on what I was hearing about it and based on the marketing, the very idea of a Han Solo origin story, the very idea of an origin story, prequels in general are just...
Yeah.
And I think after the movie, both of us were just a little bit pleasantly surprised, in a sense.
It was boring, but not as bad as we thought it would be going in. We were very nervous about the film from the time we saw the first teaser.
The first trailer, yeah.
Well, not teaser. I think the first teaser was just text. So probably the second teaser.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot for us to look forward to.
Yeah.
Besides for the obvious, but I think Star Wars fans and just consumers in general are, at this point, a little bit too jaded to be excited just because Donald Glover and Woody Harrelson are in the film. It doesn't sell it as much as that kind of does to a sort of general audience, and I don't think that kind of selling power was even shown in the box office returns.
Yeah.
So, I think it was definitely lacking something, but it did have some things.
Yeah, it did.
That were, possible.
Yeah.
Any glaring issues for you?
No, this is the thing.
Really?
There's nothing that I can point to in the movie. You know, you can look at any of the prequels and say, "Oh," you quote a line every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's just
the dialogue.
Yeah.
The general script actually. Very bad. A lot of the performances.
Yeah.
And you didn't feel any of that here?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, my problems with this just come from the idea of it in general. So from that perspective, I don't think it was ever going to succeed for me.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Any glaring issues for you?
I think the most glaring issue, so outside of my kind of general things that I think we'll probably talk about a little bit now, but the glaring issue for me was the lighting in the first, I guess we can call it the first scene, the first probably like 4 or 5 minutes of the movie. It was shocking. Possibly the cinema we saw it in.
Yeah, I'm thinking it can't be possible for a whole group of people to send a movie out like that. That's lit like that.
We've seen a lot of movies that have been sent out with terrible lighting.
True.
The same way I still can't believe it when I see like tons of shaky cam in a fight scene.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Did anybody watch it before they sent it out to the cinema?
Yeah.
I mean, I sometimes get that same feeling when I'm just like, but who thought this was okay? We can't see anything. I've had that before, which is a reason I'm not going to give them the benefit of the doubt and go like, oh, it was probably a bad cinema. Because there were some dark-ish scenes later in the film that I think were handled well, where I didn't feel like I couldn't tell what was going on. You know, the revolt when they were stealing what they were stealing on the planet that they were on. I don't remember much about the film. They were stealing the things in the tubes. And then there was that revolt of the droids going on. Yeah. There were some darkest scenes in there, but I could there was the thing that they were getting. I could easily distinguish each character. You know, the shots were not muddled, but I felt like that in the beginning. I think they were trying to set a mood in that, like, this very gritty, dark kind of. He's Han's fighting for his life. He's trying to steal stuff so that they can get out of here, and I just didn't feel like they needed that. I think they could have sold that with emotion. Dark and gritty doesn't literally mean dark and gritty, like actually, visually.
I think that feeds into my biggest issue with the film, and that's the color. So much grey.
A lot.
So much grey, and that coming off of
The Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi, which is a beautiful color palette.
And that's the one thing that no one can deny.
Yes.
Whether you loved or hated that movie.
Yeah, it's
fucking beautiful.
Beautiful, yeah. And this coming off that, like you say, we get what they were going for, this sort of dark and gritty, but like you say, it doesn't have to literally be bland for it to fit that sort of mood. So yeah, that was a disappointing aspect of the movie, because presentation in a Star Wars movie is usually it's what the kids go for, man. Like whether they know it or not, it's being entranced by that world. That's the biggest draw.
Yeah, and in the sci-fi film, all the opportunity to use color that you're robbed of if you're setting something in. Let's say you are doing like a noir film or like a heist crime film, and you are in these, you know, the dirty streets of the Bronx, and it's usually taking place at night. Then maybe it is going to be kind of dark, but they were literally in space on planets with aliens.
Where the possibilities are
limitless, endless.
100%,
you have this just open toolbox that you can use anything from, and you know, on this amazing color palette. Stick over here.
Yeah.
And that was a bit disappointing.
That was
the only thing that was nice about that, but it's so specific to one character or two characters, was that Lando's character stood out. So Donald Glover looked great in his I don't know if it's racist, pimp-ass suits. I don't know if that was on purpose. The most colourful moment in the movie is when they open his closet and they go, "Oh no, those are my designer capes." It's sounding worse and worse now that I'm bringing it back to recollection. But at least he's not the only black person in the galaxy anymore.
Yeah.
Or in a couple more.
Yeah,
so it's not like
that's cool.
old school Lando.
Yeah.
When I was like, oh, so they exist? Where are the rest of them?
Yeah. And I guess it also speaks out, again, just how bland the rest of the film looks. That's out as much as it does.
Yeah, a closet opens.
Yeah.
And I think the other bit of colour that then sticks with me is Drayden Voss, I think the character's name is. Oh goodness, now I've forgotten the actor's name as well. I'm just thinking Jarvis.
Oh, Paul Bettany.
Paul Bettany.
Paul Bettany.
His character's weapon of choice, which was this kind of knuckle duster with
that,
knife things.
that was really cool. Yeah.
The pop of red against his black was really good,
Nice.
and obviously in Star Wars, fashion screamed villain.
Yeah.
Not that there's a twist there. Sorry,
No.
I made it sound like, and then actually at the end, he's still a bit. He's just a very bad guy.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
But that was cool.
Mm.
That color contrast was great.
Mm.
But Woody Harrelson's character costume could have switched between scenes with Aaron Reich.
I believe.
And I literally wouldn't have noticed. There was no distinguishing factors between any of them, and they came from different places. They had different backgrounds. That was very annoying for me. Our introduction to Paul Bettany's character, when it's on this like luxury barge and there's all these like rich types, and they all kind of blended into this weird goldish, beige, rose gold color palette as well. Yeah. So visually, I think that was one of the only issues.
Yeah.
Visual effects wise, though, still just as good as you come to expect from a Star Wars film. No lightsabers.
Yeah.
So that's.
Another Star Wars movie without a lightsaber on lightsaber.
Yeah.
Deal.
True. How many of those do we have now? So 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 3. 3 in a row.
3 in a row. Maybe that's what's missing.
Yes.
I mean, we kind of saw it in the last.
This
year,
is
just not.
Yeah, this is the kind of evidence that fans like will promote the prequels.
Oh yeah. And I think if we can just talk about, I guess, character for a second. Everyone seemed like these cardboard cutouts of character tropes. I felt like Emilia Clarke's character had a little bit of something to her. There was something interesting going on there. And Alden Ehrenreich, I actually enjoy his work. I think he's a good actor.
Did a decent job. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw Hail Caesar.
That's that Coen Brothers movie.
Yeah, Coen Brothers. Clooney was in it, and actually quite a star-studded cast.
Yeah.
Josh Brolin, Alden Ehrenreich.
That's a good cast.
Yeah, that was really good. Tilda Swinton is in it, playing twins. And I was really excited, having seen his performance in that. I was like, let's see what he brings to Han Solo. Not much. They even made Chewbacca boring, man. I didn't think that was possible. The goal of an origin story is always to deepen our understanding of the character, I assume, right?
Yeah.
And, I mean, it was Han Solo's origin story, but it also gives us the kind of Chewbacca origin story, the origin story for their relationship, you might say, and the Lando, not origin story, but his origin with Han Solo.
Yeah.
Again, and...
Which I guess is probably the part that, theoretically speaking, people would find the most interesting, is how that dynamic started.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I was going into that movie thinking like, man, I hope they have some really cool interplay between these characters. And again, they didn't. It was there was an interplay and there was a relationship. I think we mentioned this either during the film or just after. Han Solo met Chewbacca and then they just felt like Han and Chewie 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
Like they had one fight, discovered that he could speak the same language, and then from then on it was the same gags we had since A New Hope.
Yeah.
The same, funny moments and opportunity lost.
That speaks to probably the biggest problem of the movie, is that these all feel like events, like they're just entries into canon. They don't really give you anything other than just this happened here, that happened there, and then Star Wars happened. That's it. You don't really take much else from the movie.
And weirdly enough, Rogue One, which was a movie that is almost exact, like they even told us that that's what it was. Like this is the story that explains how they got the plans for the Death Star. Actually had more of an interesting take on the Star Wars universe, giving us almost a war film from the perspective of someone without the magical powers that make you sort of immune to the effects that a war would have on a normal person.
Yeah.
In that there were actual real rebellion, people who we felt closer to because the characters we were following were part of this small band that were in a bigger band. They were dying and it was intense and they gave it a bit of a war feel. That was fresh. And then I guess this was the heist film in the Star Wars thing.
Like, I'm not the biggest fan of Rogue One, but I get what you...
But they were trying, so they brought something fresh. It wasn't like just a Star Wars film. Because Rogue One, if nothing else, does feel quite different to episodic Star Wars films. Yeah. And so does this, but not so much in a good way.
Yeah.
I feel. Sorry, in a good way. I just feel like the opportunity for that relationship not really there. People wanted to see how did Han Solo become Han Solo. He had the weirdest character development in that movie.
Yeah.
It was very much like a parabola. Because at the end of the movie, he didn't seem that much different to me. We are told that he has a different mindset, but all of his, he carries himself the same, speaks the same, everything's the same, except now he kind of doesn't trust anyone. In the beginning of the film, I got the feeling he didn't trust anyone except this one girl anyway.
Yeah. Which is an important thing to achieve in an origin story because it leads into
the
what we know about. Yeah.
And the biggest irony is that that's literally what happens in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Is that then he doesn't trust anyone then except for this one girl who then doesn't betray him, and then that opens up his heart. So it's just, they literally just rinse, repeat
doesn't that just expose the inherent flaw with the prequel? We don't need that. Some things are better left to the imagination.
Yeah, and the success of those movies that, and we've spoken about this in our podcast that is soon to be released, the fact that they literally threw you into these characters and we bought in. The Star Wars fans have already bought in.
Yeah.
We've already bought a ticket. It would be weird for Nolan to do all those Batman movies and then go back and do an origin movie for the Joker. Because we already bought that Joker. When you put it to me, I said, yeah, cool, take my money, I'll have that. And then now he's like, oh, but wait, here's the same thing, but worse, and younger, and not as interesting, and... Yeah. Quite annoying.
Yeah.
I think, what did you think about the grand reveal in the final third of the movie? Spoiler warning, if you don't want to be spoiled for Solo now, what?
Wait, which
I'm referring to Darth Maul. Right?
I feel like in this, category of criticism, when we're criticizing blockbusters and big franchises, I think the term that gets thrown around too often is fan service.
Of course. Yeah.
But
very much
it's
a
hard.
buzzword, I know you don't like those.
Yeah. But it's hard to avoid saying that here because it's literally dropped in. And that's it.
and it's the worst kind of fan service. If you think about, sorry to compare again, but if you think about Rogue One, fan service at the end of that movie looked amazing.
Yeah.
That scene was nice.
The scene was well done.
The feeling again of the fear of Darth Vader. It refreshed in your memory. Because especially with that film being about how rebellion soldiers felt, not how Jedi felt. And then the very real terror that he inspired in that ending scene is in keeping with the tone that the movie's trying to convey, whether you think it gets it right or not. And then this was almost like the trailer for how people got hyped at E3 for the new Elder Scrolls game. And then I was like, oh really? And I checked, it was just a JPEG with the name Elder Scrolls 6. And I was like, that's why you guys were excited. It felt like that.
Yeah.
And in case you were wondering who was in charge, Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Cut. And then that's it. And then there was nothing. They didn't even do anything interesting with the dual lightsaber wielding, underutilized guy from the best part about Episode 1, which is a shocking movie.
Yeah.
Just the best part, the duel of the fates, that ending sequence.
He's such a nothing character in that first movie. And, this is sort of a chance to, I guess.
Yeah. He wasn't even narratively important. He just looked cool when he was fighting.
Yeah.
And they didn't let him look cool when he was fighting. And I think, again, that's just very much sums up this movie.
Yeah.
They could have done this, and they did this, and
Yeah.
that's how we feel about, most of it. I think that, in closing, it was a movie, while it was a prequel, which and an origin story, two very difficult things to overcome. One might even say impossible. Nowadays, it had so many opportunities to give us at least a moment where we were wowed to the point that we can talk about. Remember when in Solo, when like insert cool thing here, and nothing happened. There was Woody Harrelson, there was Tandy Newton, there was Donald Glover.
Yeah.
There was Paul Bettany.
And you
Emilia
mentioned Tandy
Clarke.
Newton in there, but she was literally in the movie for like the first
Yeah.
15 minutes. I guess that was a cool sequence, the train.
Sure, and again, there are some good set pieces.
Yeah.
Because they're good at it and they know how to film those kind of action things. But I don't know if you're with me here, but I didn't feel it was nail biting for me. Wasn't worried. Again, it was just like, oh, this is a thing that was happening.
That's origin stories.
Yeah.
You know where it ends. So it's like.
But even though we knew obviously that Han and Chewie would be fine, even for the other characters, I didn't care or feel much for them.
I get you.
Woody Harrelson's character, and it's difficult to make me not care about Woody Harrelson. I like him in most movies that he's been in.
Yeah.
Loved him in Cheers. It was very sorry.
It's a random.
It's relevant. It was very difficult to make me not care, and I really didn't. It's just annoying.
And that's your take on the movie.
Yeah.
In general, that's that last thought basically. Yeah. I mean, I feel mostly the same. I mean, if you're looking for just another adventure in this universe, I guess you'll have a good time here.
And we're hooked.
Yeah.
We paid money for it.
Yeah.
We went to go and see it, knowing that this would be.
Yeah.
And I guess that is kind of the problem, is that as much as it wasn't a box office success, didn't lose anything. They made like $120 million profit. It's not huge for Hollywood.
And I guess it's not an excuse, but the production of this movie was troubled.
Of course, we haven't spoken about that.
The marketing wasn't particularly great, so I mean they really had to defy all odds to be a success. This movie.
I mean, here's that question: do you think this movie would have been better if they let the original directors finish it off? It's a horrible question because obviously we have no idea.
We also don't know what the script, if the script was the same.
But I will say this: the studios never really, jump in unless something is starting to feel like something they don't really want. So, if anything, this movie would have had more character had the original directors been able to finish it off. It might not have been better. It might have had more style and character and been a cuck movie. That's also possible.
Yeah.
It could have been really bad. It's possible that the studio had to step in and go, listen, what you're making is not good.
Yeah.
But it could have been a bad movie that we looked on as being like, oh, remember when they did this cool thing? And again, that's the only thing that I think is lacking from this, because we don't have the Darth Vader scene, from Rogue One. Yeah. There's not even any moment to talk about. Do you remember when there was a hologram of Darth Maul?
Yeah.
Do you remember when they were on the spaceship and then the other spaceship came and they were shooting at the spaceship and then they made it? There's nothing. Yeah.
So I guess, I mean, if you're coming off, where I'm at with Star Wars in general, is that I like where the last movie had headed. I like that direction. I like what they did with the universe, and then this coming off that.
Yeah.
It's very much the other end of the scale.
But at least we can always keep it separate, at least in our minds, going, I mean, this wasn't one of the real ones.
True. And I guess that was Disney's vision with the episodic entries and
the spin-offs.
Is that, the nostalgia will come from those spin-offs, and then, they'll head in new directions. They'll head in new directions with others. So I guess that's their mission, and I guess they accomplished that in a sense. But yeah, it didn't make for the most memorable viewing experience. I mean, there's so many plot details we can't remember.
Of course, oh man,
Already
so
forgotten.
sad.
Yeah,
Given that seeing Last Jedi once, we could probably tell you the entire plot.
the whole thing. Yeah,
sticks with
100%.
you. Yeah.
So yeah,
Ah.
ratings.
Yeah. Having said that, what would you?
I think I'd go with a 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10.
Yeah.
Wow. Sorry, that came off really. Wow. Really cute. That's like just a mum.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think it's okay what you just did? Yeah. Wow. That's how I felt. Anyway.
6 is sort of generous. We spent a lot of time talking about the negatives, but there's a fairly decent time to be had. Yeah.
I think. So my rating then is just peppered by the options, the plethora of movies that we have, and serve the same purpose that I would rather watch. There are great heist films out there.
Oh yeah.
There's some amazing sci-fi stuff out there.
Yeah.
Recently rewatched Blade Runner 2049 with my girlfriend. I'll be watching it with my sister soon as well, because she hasn't seen it. And every time I watch it, I'm just reminded of what's possible.
Yeah.
And reminded of just how I will never rewatch Solo
True.
ever again. And the entertainment value I got out of it, I think, mostly stemmed from watching it with you and Neil and being able to talk about it, like outside of it being a thing in a universe that we're invested in, and the value that we inherently find in even movies that we don't enjoy, because it's it's just a medium that we enjoy.
Yeah.
I think there's really not much there for me, and I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10.
Whoa. Okay. So there you go. Overthink. Solo score 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10.
That's fair. I think that's accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. We're obviously very excited for episode 9. Just to see what happens. It's going to be an interesting ride. Yeah. And it's been an interesting ride as a Star Wars fan. No matter when it is that you came onto it, it's just been a whirlwind of stuff going on.
Yeah.
But
We've still got future projects to look forward to. We've got Jon Favreau.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Ryan Johnson trilogy.
Ryan Johnson trilogy. DB Weiss and Benioff got their own series. I don't know.
Yeah. Who even knows? There's a lot of Star Wars coming at us, and invariably some of it will be good. Yeah. Some of it will be bad. We enjoy Star Wars, I guess, on a whole. I don't think it's been tipped for any of us yet. We're still very much into it. So yeah. You can watch this space for more. Like I said, we've recorded a podcast. We will be doing a follow-up to that. That'll be coming your way soon. There'll be more Star Wars reviews and probably more discussions on it as a whole at some point. Yeah. So yeah, you can tune in for those if you'd like to. Keep coming back for more mediocre reviews, and don't forget to overthink about all the movies and music that you listen to. And everything. Don't sleep.
Yes.
Just lie in bed with your eyes open, thinking what you could
think
have
about
done.
Everything. Just put more thought into it.
Yeah. Oh.
PSA.
PSA. Think, motherfucker.
Is cracking there. Welcome to Overthink. My name is Keegan. This is
I'm Ezra.
Ezra.
Hey.
That is your name.
That is.
Today we are reviewing Solo.
That is your name.
Welcome to Overthink. My name is Keegan.
I'm Ezra.
That is your name.